Hi, everybody. Welcome to the feelings module. Where we begin is kind of interesting. It's sort of analytical and in the head. And for those of you who feel sort of disturbed by lots of words and analysis and data and documents and charts, this may not fit. And I still find from taking curriculum design classes, interestingly, this is quite powerful. It has been for me, for the mind, some part of the mind. And I begin this in the feelings module on purpose, even though at some point you could offer this at the very beginning of the whole class, but it seems like too much at the beginning of the whole class. We're just learning to be here at this point. So this is a sort of grasp on something that almost can't be grasped specifically, showing with a picture or a chart and this sort of mind energy, looking at what happens with this experience of off balance eating. So take what you need, throw out the rest. Everything is okay with it. So as you can see from this screen, I made this pie chart, and I love pie charts. So perfect for this eating peace experience. And the thing about these kinds of charts is that segments are going on at all the same time. So it's not a linear flow. It's not adding up something all at once. It's not the other kinds of charts that you see. It's just all of it coming to a center of a foundation. And I'm saying in that foundation, with our work, that we're dealing so much with feelings, that in that foundation is willingness, accessing willingness. We all have willingness. It's why you're even here. You signed up for this program because something in you is willing. Wow, I'm willing to find out. I'm willing to find out what's going on here. I don't know. In that willingness, we're just being. We're being ourselves. We're open. So, how this looks is there's a circle around the outside that's a flow of how we can look at any kind of compulsive experience. We begin with connecting. We're willing to connect, connecting in with ourselves, connecting with what's happened, noticing the disruption inside, open to those feelings and behaviors and the mind, what the mind is chattering and saying. So it starts to have so many ideas about what's going on. Chatter, chatter, chatter. Here's what's happening. This is what we need to do. We're identifying the thoughts. That's what happens when we sit down with the work and a pen and paper, but you can even say it out loud. And then when we identify the thoughts, we inquire. We're opening up to inquiry and turning our thinking around and then reconnecting. And that's an endless flow in some ways. It certainly has been for me for years. Oh, connect, bam, difficult feelings. Open to them, open to looking at the behaviors, open to what's happening in the mind, identifying the thoughts. I inquire, is that true? Turning it around. So that's the flow happening on the outside of all of this. And in the foundation in the middle is this willingness, beginning there. And I'm sort of aligning this with the foundations of our modules. So let's just take a look, scrolling down a little. Of course, any steps like this or any practices or skills, there's always what is not linear, what is not happening in order. That's the nature of it with this compulsion. I mean, just noticing there isn't a 1, 2, 3, take the steps, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not like that. And yet we're still looking at, so we're just calling them steps for the best way we can. Let's just call them this way, and you see what works for you, and it may be very helpful to just uh, access some kind of piece or part of you that relates to what's going on here. So, foundation, willingness. In a way, I always think if start at zero, if I feel total chaos, I can just be willing to not know, willing to be with the unknown. Has to be a different way from anything that I've done so far with this food and eating problem. And so you can sit with this. And I've done my best to just write in words, which we know also are sort of a spell casting or observations or just from this, but how that looks, how that feels, what it's like. What is willingness? Step one, just being willing to take a look. I wonder what's going on here. All of you have this because that's why you're here. There are practices and skills then for each step. Milestones for each step, like as if we could invent that. But just thought, wow, given this invitation, especially in curriculum design or in looking at a journey, what will the milestones be? What am I seeing? Can we share this? Is there some shared part of human mind looking and watching that can be here? And you may or may not relate. But I find it sort of there's a group feel to it often. So milestones, and then actions or exercise that support practicing this step. What to question, what to go through. I'm just sharing this, and you can read, read if you like consuming and taking this in. If you feel like this is like, oh my God, there's so many words here, I don't want to do it, that's okay for you. Stage two, after willing, curious and open. I'm curious about this. I really want to look. I want to study this. Nothing else has worked, so I may as well go here. So what does that feel like? Speaking of feelings, what am I doing? What's the dance between feelings and mind when it comes to curiosity and this particular step or stage? Here's some skills to practice that support curiosity. Milestones on the curiosity trail, what they might look like, what they've looked like for me. Exercises. Some of them have been offered already in the eating piece, other lessons. Some of them haven't. Let's discover here. Next stage, allowing and improving. Just noticing in that circle. We can enter from anywhere. When it's a circle like that, like a pie, you can enter from anywhere. There's no starting point. Am I allowing and improving, approving? I love the word approve. I approve that that's happening. I approve that that exists. In a way, it's sort of got this funny, like, who am I to say I'm the approver? And yet, the benefit for me, if I approve of something existing, is I'm letting it be there. I'm saying, you know what? It's there anyway. I approve of it being there is an amazing leaning in to this thing that's happening, whether it's my body that's overweight or this binge that has happened or this urge that is rising up in me. I'm not against it. I don't have to fight it. I approve of it existing. What's wonderful about that? It already exists. Not fighting is such a relaxation. So skills to practice in that place. Skills to practice. Milestones that we come across. Milestones that we experience. Exercises, actions. Some of these have not been offered yet in the program. What can I practice? How do I do this? Stage 3, compassion, connection on the circle. Compassion and connection. Can I bring that in to what's happening here? All my incredibly horrific experiences with food and eating and other experiences that I've had. Why this pattern is so ingrained and so woven into my experience. Can I bring compassion and connection to myself here? Skills to practice that bring in compassion and connection that I've experienced. How does that look? How would I speak that? How is that articulated? Milestones that I reach as I walk the path of compassion and connection with myself and my own mind. Actions and exercises that we have here. Stage 4, I'm building trust. It's funny, just as I speak to this and talk about a stage, it's as if, the mind will go in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you could come in at stage 4. Step 4, at experience 4, building trust with the body, the flow of hunger and fullness and food. That's what we're doing the whole time. So there's no order to this. This is just noticing this aspect of this thing that we're calling a problem. And it feels so disruptive and it feels off balance. But in this phase or stage or step or experience of this town that I'm visiting called lack of trust, and I'm building trust, this is what it looks like. Practices to be here with that, milestones, actions, exercises to look at, and stage 5, loving what is. Loving what is, where we often get to when we do the work. Wow, loving what is. And if I'm not there yet, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm having a conversation that is connecting conversation, but it's what it's like. And at the bottom of this document, I called it skills that support the overall eating peace journey, broken down into the modules that I've named that we're looking at. Spell breaking, understanding feelings, what we're starting at today. Moving from empty and bored to satisfied. Accepting trauma, finding our own inner power. Looking at the body, holding it with a perspective of forgiveness and acceptance, and then living in what I love calling the yum zone, but just practicing peace. A yum, enjoyment, like what we mean when we say that, the feeling of that in our daily life. So this stage 1, whether it's for you or not, has just got this document, and pop right into the next video to have a different way with it. There'll be slides and there'll be the other kind of lesson. But this is something to keep and print out and look back at and just see, because it can be very helpful for living turnarounds and aspects that we often feel like are just, I don't even know how to work with that. Just watching this whole pie chart, and where we come in at different moments and the movement that is constantly underway. Change is always happening. All right. Hope it's helpful.